representing Franchise Secrets, Eric Von Horn.
Hey listeners, if you're not in the Franchise Secrets Facebook group, what are you waiting for? It's franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. Now, this is a large community of franchisees, franchisors, buyers, sellers, anybody that's involved in franchising in any way. It's the community to go to, ask your questions, get answers, help people out, and get help. It's franchisesecrets.com/Facebook. Today, I want to get into two types of panels. We're going to have one on social media and one on kind of neighborhood grassroots guerrilla marketing. And so a lot of you guys can be on the panel. So it's not just the panelists that are going to be speaking, but at least we'll have some people that are, ready to be on the panel. It's not as easy to do a panel virtually, but there's a lot of, been getting a lot more out of panels these days and events that I've gone to. I think those that were at the event here in Spearfish, the panels were pure gold. And so I wanted to do that today with two different topics. Let's jump into it. The first panel discussion, we've got Mr. Chris Elmore. And we have, who else was going to be on that? And Yoel, there we go. You guys I couldn't find you there. We are going to be talking about guerrilla marketing, neighborhood marketing, basically free, like how you can get stuff for free. And Trey Powell, I'm throwing you on that panel as well, because you were the guy that first taught me how to properly fit into the Uncle Sam costume, put it on here, put it over here, put on the hat properly, hold donuts the right way, and go out and guerrilla market properly after you read Jay Conrad Levinson's book on guerrilla marketing. So Trey, you are definitely on that panel as well. But I haven't had much discussion on guerrilla marketing in a long time, and I thought it'd be really interesting to have some conversation around that. So why don't we go around, Chris, just go introduce yourself just real quick. Most everyone knows you, and then Yoel, and then Trey, if you can, Trey, I'm not going to put you on the spot if you can, and just let us know a little bit, 60 seconds of what your mindset or experience is with guerrilla marketing. And then anybody have any questions, you can just raise your hand, you can just interrupt, or you can type it in. So Chris, Yoel, Trey, go.
All right. Hey, everybody. Chris Elmore. Happy to see a lot of faces today. And then did you want me to go ahead and go into a little bit of the guerrilla market, or just do introduction and then we'll
just do quick introduction on your experience with guerrilla marketing? Okay. Trey, we all have a little bit different experience with it.
Yeah. So my career was in advertising and marketing from a more classic sense, but the guerrilla marketing that I've been involved in has been through Orange Theory. I am a partner in 2 Orange Theory studios. And a lot of the guerrilla stuff came from the early days when no one knew what the brand was. And we were having to, really explain and get people excited about it in the area, because no one knew what it was. And so I guess I can go into some of those tactics and things once we do a little introduction.
Perfect. Yoel, you're on mute. You're acting just like I was. I was talking and I was on mute.
Sorry about that. Hey guys, good to see a lot of you again. Yo Gutierrez, I'm co-owner of Mosquito Joe Miami. It's a mosquito control franchise. Really, the guerrilla marketing that I do more of now is more online digital type. So free stuff that we can do online, which I'll get into a little bit later. But it kind of started because I was never marketing. So my background was IT. Got into Mosquito Joe franchise, pivoted completely. And then out of necessity, had to learn marketing, a digital marketing, all these types of things. So I've taken classes, courses, I've given courses on this kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll talk more about that.
I like it. Trey, you're at a place where you can talk?
I am right now. I may transfer to my phone, which is also connected in a little bit, but so I didn't even know what guerrilla marketing was until Liberty Tax Service. I joined that little startup company when there was 300 offices, and that's pretty much all we could afford to do at the time. And what we found was that it was so much more effective than the stuff that you spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on, that we really embraced it and perfected it and evolved it, really all throughout that company. And I don't know if you know, but I left, I finally exited Liberty last month. So almost 20 years.
That's awesome, man. That is a big congrats.
Yeah. And worked out well, actually. So very, very excited about that. But yeah, we do a little bit of that here at Mosquito Joe, not nearly to the volume that we did it back then, but we do a lot. So
why don't we go ahead and start with you, Trey, work our way backwards, give us like some of the things that you're doing right now. And then Yoel and then Chris, if that works. And then then as questions come up, just put them in the chat and then we'll open it up for some questions, but give us some of the things that you're doing or have done.
So, I am an advertising, a marketing major. I did study marketing. Obviously the ground stuff takes 7 impressions to get somebody to act. I don't think that those 7 impressions need to come from the same thing. As many different ways as that you can hit them is going to cause a lot more people to react a lot faster. I always talk to new franchisees with Mosquito Joe. One of the things that we do is we put a sign in the yard every time we do a treatment. Well, I think that most franchisees might put a sign in the first time they treat, but then they don't want to spend the money to do it if it's not there 3 weeks later. And from the very beginning, we put a sign in every yard every single time. And, we kind of created a buzz with it where it was like a keeping up with the Joneses type thing where people wanted those signs. And I don't know if we did it by accident or whatever, but people wanted to keep, and they kept the signs in their yard. So then we started putting signs at the exit to every one of those neighborhoods when we left. And so then I ordered 1,000 signs, and I only have at the time only had one territory with Mosquito Joe. And I gave every single technician 20 extra signs every day that they had to put out along their route. And so they did at the exit of every neighborhood, every major intersection. These are like the bandit signs, like real estate type signs that you see on the side of the road. And within a very short period of time, the 3 guys doing 20 a day, that's 60 a day. 5 days a week, it's 300. Within 3 or 4 weeks, we had 1,000 signs out inside of that one territory. And I swear you could not drive through my territory without seeing 8 of those different signs anywhere and everywhere you go. And you want to brand or get a name out there. There's not a cheaper, faster, easier way. I get the question all the time. Well, did you get calls? Did you get in trouble? We got calls. Did we get in trouble? No. I tried to work with folks that called us. I always, in that aspect with signs, I'm going to beg for forgiveness, not ask for permission. We figured out real quickly where we could put them and where we couldn't. There are ordinances against it in the entire county. It's just certain municipalities enforce it and other ones do not. Outside of the town limits, no one seems to care, and there's signs everywhere. And so there's a couple of municipalities that we've had to learn to work around and work with, but that's been a big thing. And so most franchisees probably put out 100 signs in a year, and we're putting out 1,000, and the results are about 10 times more, from that. So just being more aggressive around stuff like that. I'll go back to my Liberty Tax days. And when I first started with Liberty Tax was when they first started having the Statue of Liberty stand out on the corner and wave. And when I owned a franchise, I was paying attention to what was happening. When that person was out there waving, there were people walking in the door. When I would bring them in, it would stop. Or if we missed a day, we wouldn't get as many new customers. And the plan, according to Liberty, was to put them out during drive times, put them out in the morning from like 7 to 9, put them out, in the evening from 4 to 7, and that was it. And I realized that it worked better if I just left them out. So I was one of the first franchisees to keep them out, literally put them on, hire someone full-time and literally have somebody out there from open to close or till it was too dark. And sometimes we put spotlights out and other things like that. But the results magnified and the cost of that was so cheap. People always ask, every day people would ask me, how well does that work? Does that really work? And my true honest answer is, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. The return on investment that you got off of that person standing, waving on the side of the road, you wouldn't believe it if I told you how well it works, how much of a buzz it creates, how many people start talking about you. And that's what branding is all about, is it gets people talking, people see it, they see it over and over again. They can't miss it. When they need that product or service, you are the first thing on their mind. And if you're the first thing on their mind, chances are they're gonna buy your product and not your competitor. And to me, that's the essence of guerrilla marketing, is finding inexpensive, different, unique ways to get in front of your customers as many times and as much as you possibly can, and not spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to do it. So off the cuff, that's about what I've got. You got anything to add, Eric?
I just a couple points to highlight. I love what you said. If the average franchisee is doing 100 things or signs a year, you're doing 1,000. And that was the difference in Liberty between the people that crushed it and the people that were just doing the minimum. And I remember being out in market with you and Kelly, and I'm like, I'm doing a lot. I'm going to 20 different businesses. And you're like, 20 businesses? You should be doing 100 or 200 businesses. And that just a light bulb went off. And it's like, I'm just playing way too small and I just need to go all out. So that is definitely a mindset thing too. But just with guerrilla marketing, you just need to get out to be in front of customers and to be top of mind, like you said. And you just need to go bigger. Always just go bigger. However, whatever that looks like. And the other thing that you said is you need to, instead of asking for permission, you need to ask for forgiveness. That's kind of guerrilla marketing, mindset as well. You kind of need to have that. Not that you're doing illegal stuff, but you just kind of need to push the boundaries at times. So I remember going out, same thing with, putting things on cars, like coupons and stuff on cars. The grocery stores didn't like it. It's not like we were doing something illegal. I don't think we were, but we guys got to get out there. And then all of a sudden you see those things start coming into your office and you're making money from it. And it's like, okay, there's an immediate return on some of those things that you do. And that's what I like. That's what I like about it. It's branding and immediate response. If you're a franchisor and you're interested in becoming one of my private clients, the thing that I do best is help franchisors with their franchise development process. As I've talked to many franchisors over the years, hundreds of franchisors, most of them have broken processes and they have a lot of holes that they are letting really good candidates fall out. The buyers are falling out and they are spending way too much time with the wrong people who don't end up buying. As a result, they are not able to be very effective in that process. I love to help franchisors who have a broken franchise development process or that just needs to be optimized. Message me or email me at eric@franchisesecrets.com, ERIK@franchisesecrets.com, or sign up for the monthly memo and reach out to me.
And also with those municipalities that we have issues with, the way around that with some of them is to install them Friday evening and pick them up Friday night.
Yep.
On a Sunday night.
And guys, some of these guys are just out there doing their job. They could really care less that you have a sign out there. That's the last thing that they care about. And then there are some that on Saturday they put on their I'm the sign Nazi, and they go out there and they're ready for business and ready to take you down. But most people are doing their job and they could care less.
What Yoel just described is the perfect workaround, and that we used that back in our Cutco days when we were trying to recruit college students. We had teams of 10 people, and everybody got 25 signs. And so in a matter of about an hour and a half, we would get 250 signs out at all the major intersections, and they would go out and spend about an hour, and they go up, and everybody on Sunday night would go out and pick up their signs and get them all down. And man, we just got huge results from that. And on Monday morning, when the municipality guy came to work, and he was like, oh, well, they're gone. And man, that worked like golden. And it was because at that time they were trying to find some of the, they weren't franchisees, but they were trying to find some of the owners because they were putting out signs. So that's how they were getting around it. Other franchisees, I will say, they just paid the fine. They just said, how much is it? It's $2,000. Who do I make the check out to? And they wrote him a check and they gave it to him. And they're like, and then they left me alone for like a month. And then they came back and gave me another fine. He's like, I'll pay $2,000 a month to do this. It's like, to get this kind of result, it would cost me way more than $2,000. And so they started budgeting fines into their advertising plan every year. And it wasn't like they were fighting anyone, or it was like they just showed up and they gave them the paperwork. Great. Okay. Thank you. And they go down and they pay the fine. And they
Way to
couldn't fine
support
them more than once a month.
Support your local city by paying fines. Like, you are doing good in the neighborhood.
Yeah. I never did that, but I know a lot of people who did, and it worked.
That's great. Yoel, go ahead.
Yeah, so my whole thing for digital guerrilla marketing is Google My Business. Now, I want all of you right now, if you do not have a Google My Business listing, when this call is over, go to business.google.com, claim your business or create a new one, create a new profile, because it is one of the best free resources out there that you can do for a local company. Now, Google My Business is basically your business listing online, but now Google has done it to where it's more of a social type platform where you can post updates, you post pictures, but you definitely want to set it up correctly from the get-go. So your description of your business. The last time I checked, Google had over 4,000 different business types, but if it doesn't have yours, pick the closest one, and then to get around people finding you based on your type of business, in the description, make sure you're using up the 2,000 characters and put what you do in that description, because Google does parse that information. And if somebody's looking for you and they put what your business is, they can usually find you through that. You want to make sure that your info is correct. So your NAP, so your name, address, and phone number, you want that to be the same across your website, all your listing sites, Google My Business, and don't forget your hours too, because if any of that information is off, Google will de-rank you. So they want to see that information the same. So now to the guerrilla marketing part is pictures and posts, more importantly, pictures. So I've done tests where I post 10 pictures, let's say. And in 3 days, when that data goes through the system and you can see the data going through, whenever I put those pictures up, traffic to the website goes up in accordance to that. So Google is rewarding you with traffic by using the platform. So what do I do to encourage Google to send me traffic? I have all my guys, all my technicians on the field, when they're out there, they've been trained to take pictures. So take pictures of water sources, take pictures of properties, of larvae, of whatever they find. So I get a stream of pictures every day. So all I do is transfer those pictures to Google. In my niche, in my industry, I am 3, 4, 5x the amount of pictures as any other company. I have, I don't know, 20,000, 30,000 views on pictures a day. Those are eyes that are not customers that can be customers. I mean, and I'm getting to them for free. This is not like I'm paying for anything. That's a lot of eyes for no money. So that's really the biggest thing I can tell you is the pictures. Posts are good. Make sure that you have your products and services up there, because Google also parses those, and it'll crawl those that information. So when people are looking for a service like you give, and not necessarily what you do or your brand name, they can still find you. So just make sure that all that stuff is up, it's correct, it's clear, concise, and add as much info as you can. I mean, anybody have any questions on that? Because it's pretty simple, but it makes a big impact.
Mr. Elmore, you are up.
Hey, so this might be a little review for Ryan. Ryan, did you do the orange bikes in your markets? No. So I don't know if everybody knows about this. Some of you might, but when Orange Theory was first starting out, like I said, nobody knew what it was. It was just this gym concept, that no one had heard of. So I didn't create it, but another franchisee did. And what it was they went out and got actual bicycles that were kind of crappy $25, $30 bicycles, full bicycles though, and spray painted them bright orange, got about 25 of them. And you would, like what Trey was saying, you would actually, on a Friday night, you'd go and you'd take them on a trailer and you'd put them and chain them up at these major intersections all around your marketplace. And so once we did this, people started talking in different groups, what's with the orange bikes. They would see one, which was kind of weird, but then, 8 blocks later, 10 blocks later, they would see another orange bike. So it became this kind of viral thing that was happening. Really, I think this was even before or right around when Facebook was actually just kind of getting launched. But it was really just an inexpensive way to get people talking about it. A lot of people would probably wonder, well, like bikes really aren't even really a big component of Orange Theory, but that it really didn't make a difference. I mean, the most important thing was that it was this big, weird, object that didn't cost a lot of money, and it did make some municipalities mad once they caught on to who was doing it. But it probably took over a year for the municipalities to really figure out who was even really behind it. And then what had happened, the secondary benefit was people were finding out that Orange Theory was coming to their neighborhood when these bikes started showing up. So it became this like extra level of excitement that happened, as a result. And so, it was a big pain in the butt to paint all of these bikes, of course. But it became a pretty fun thing to go with your staff, under darkness to go, chain up 25 bikes in our markets. So that was one kind of guerrilla tactic that worked really, really well. Eventually, I think there was postcards that were sent out that were like, what's with the orange bikes, that kind of explained it. But part of the key was there was no logo on these bikes. There was nothing indicating that it was us. So it was true guerrilla, getting people speaking about something happening, in their neighborhood that they didn't quite get. And it just kind of got a lot of excitement. So that's one example that was huge for us when we were just getting off the ground. And another thing that I think that is, I don't know if it's really classically guerrilla, but I think it'll help people in this group, is from a outbound marketing standpoint. Couple things. We require our staff to bring us 2 events every week. And we didn't used to do that. We thought it was actually a manager that came to us and said, this is something that he had done in another business. We were maybe requiring 1 a month, from staff. And so every week now there's 2 events that they have to be out, in the marketplace, whether that's a table at a bank or, at an HR department at a larger corporation. But that was just something when we did require that it really helped our business grow a lot. Another thing is this idea, it's called 40, 20, 10, 5. And what that is for us is we require, or at least it's our goal for our sales staff to bring in 40 leads a week. And then with those 40 leads, your hope is that to get 20 appointments out of those 40. And then of those 20 appointments, 10 show up and 5 will purchase. So 40 leads per week that these sales associates are going out into the marketplace, and they are getting names and phone numbers hand to hand from folks, and that was something that I had never done in any business that I had been a part of, but was just something really aggressive that I think helped spread Orange Theory. As great as it did, was requiring that level of aggressive kind of marketing out in the marketplace and kind of pounding that ground, if you will, by those sales associates. So I would say those three tactics are probably three of the biggest that I think that Orange Theory participated in that really helped grow the franchises as fast as they did.
So let's dive into 40, 20, 10, 5 a little bit more. And you said hand-to-hand, Liberty, we called it face-to-face marketing. Like you are like looking in the eyeballs, having conversations with people. So can you go into a little bit more of what hand-to-hand looks like and what like qualifies as a lead and how different tactics on how to get 40 leads that week?
Yeah. So this was something, again, that we started with, and it was really probably around the time that social media started getting busy. And I think a lot of franchisees now almost rely too much on social media a little bit as a crutch and kind of hide behind it. Whereas, when we hire folks, we hire them and make sure that they understand that they're going to be going out, into the marketplace. I mean, with COVID, it made it a lot more difficult. Now it's getting better. But essentially we would send them out as part of their shift. If at Orange Theory, the middle part of the day is, when there's no classes. And so during that time period, we would send somebody out and sometimes it works better in groups of 2 because they can kind of have fun with it. But sometimes, you send them out alone. And for 2 hours or 3 hours, like you mentioned, Eric, they're either flyering cars, or we had a little form that was, a VIP free class. And in order for me to give you this VIP free class, what's your phone number? And people, you'd be surprised if you just ask people that they'll give it to you. I was shocked. I'm like, people are just going to give you their phone number. But not everybody does. But the goal is to get an email or a phone number, from that person in exchange for this, VIP class that you're inviting them to. And so
go ahead.
Yep. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, anytime somebody says flyering cars, that they know guerrilla marketing.
Yes. Yeah. Like you said, some people they get mad when it rains because I think the stuff sticks to the cars. But like Trey was saying, like you can't worry about people getting mad at you. I mean, that's part of guerrilla marketing. The goal is to get get in front of people's faces at any cost, really, and you can't be embarrassed about anything either. A lot of salespeople, they'd be self-conscious about just going up and walking up to strangers and talking about that concept. But that's basically what we did every day, was go find 20 people and come back with 10 leads, and don't come back without 10 leads. I mean, it was kind of the mantra, early on, and we still do it today. I don't know that all franchisees do it. But we are still doing that. We're still making it a requirement of a shift that like 2 hours of their shift is outbound. They'll be out in the grocery store just walking up to strangers and talking to them. So
if they feel like they have something of value to give, then they'll do it. And if they're, even to call it the VIP thing, and Trey, it makes me think of like the golden ticket or whatever it was. You have something that you term really cool that people want, and then you can talk about it, and you just give them those words to say how to open up that conversation, and the aggressive people do it. One more question, and then I want to open it up for questions. Anybody on the panel, and guys on the panel, any of you guys have to leave at any time. Just go ahead and drop off. No big deal. Appreciate you doing this. You said the staff needs to bring 2 events every week, or do 2 events every week. I think you said a bank or HR department. Can you expand on that concept a little bit more?
Yeah. So, I mean, in I'm sure all of our markets, there are kind of, complementary services to what your business does. From an Orange Theory standpoint, the complementary businesses are like, we have Fit Life Foods, which is kind of like a prepackaged meal delivery concept. So we made it a point to go partner with them and have a table, in their location on a regular basis. There used to be Sports Authorities or Dick's, Sporting Goods, and there's lots of different places that will allow you to just have a table out front. For nothing. You really don't have to pay for it. They'll allow it. You just have to talk to the right person within their group. And in other places, you form a partnership with them. They might want to co-market at your location. So they might have someone, in your lobby, once a month or something. You don't probably want to do it once a week, of course, in the same place. But a different partner, for each person every month would probably be a good kind of cadence for that. And then with regard to like the HR departments, we made a big push a few years ago to try to get into the larger companies in our area, not just kind of the retail companies, because we felt that, you know, fitness was something that would be important to those large companies. And if we can get, you know, their workforce to be more fit, then they would be better workers and all those kinds of things, which was a message that resonated with some of those larger corporations kind of in our area. And we would just connect with their HR director and say, listen, we'd like to do a teach and train for 1 hour, you know, for you guys for free. And we'll talk about the benefits of HIIT training and, you know, and just kind of keep it more general about fitness and the benefits. And then, of course, part of that messaging is, you know, why Orange Theory is the place to do that and the place to sign up. But you try to make it a little more general. You're not trying to make it this crazy sales pitch, you know, right out of the gate. You're trying to make it a little more general to something that's going to benefit them, you know.
This is great. So what I like to do now is open it up to anybody. And sorry, I'm looking at comments for private comments coming in. I know all you guys are making, I know you guys tell me that you guys are making all kinds of comments behind the scenes that I don't get to see half the time. So like, I know some of the shenanigans that actually goes on. But I'm not going to look at comments right now. After I ask to open up for questions, then I'll go look at direct messages. So if you are hearing some of this stuff, you're like, I like what Chris said. I'm not in fitness. I like what UL said. I need to get into that master class. You want to ask him some questions now. And the same with Trey, you're not in that type of business, but maybe you're in a different business and you have some questions about yourself or your business specifically. Why don't you go ahead and come on in and ask a question.
If you want to go deeper as a franchisee, then check out the Franchise Tribe Mastermind. It's a tribe of franchisees across many different brands, sectors, and industries with many things in common besides just franchising. Things like being growth-minded and having a lifestyle focus, remembering why you got into business in the first place, learning from others' mistakes versus just making a bunch of your own mistakes, or helping people avoid the mistakes that you've made. A desire to shortcut the path to success. In other words, franchisees who want to be around like-minded, solution-oriented A players. Check out franchisesecrets.com/mastermind.
Hey, Eric, I'd like to start because I almost pulled a muscle trying to ask Chris a question. I was loving the branding comment.
I saw your face. It's kind of made
and then I was like, did he say we could go? And then I didn't. And then I felt like a kid in class. So my bad if I was like distracting. I've been on a creative bender for a couple of days, Chris. So like, it's really cool hearing you talking the branding side of Orange Theory. So David Ogilvy is like one of my favorite branding characters. Yeah. And
he's old school.
What I like about him is he also talks about data and science. So I'm curious around those orange bikes that no one knew what they were. At what point did that tie back into the end of the story so they're aware? And then also, what was it like for the Z's in the early days that maybe didn't believe in branding? Like how open were they to not knowing the ROI or knowing it? I'm curious around that.
Yeah, I think once it was, so anyway, back to the, I guess the first question. So what we would do is, you know, we would put them out, you know, like I said, in the evening, and then you would just wait and kind of see what, you know, the kind of the reaction. And the majority was like I said, social media was just kind of picking up. And so people started asking in different community boards and things like, what's with that? And so once they'd been out a while, people started, it's like the media actually picked up on it locally and was like, oh, you know, the bikes are, you know, this new fitness concept and blah, blah, blah. So we ended up getting all of this like kind of free media out of it because they kind of had some fun with it and were like, what is this all about? And got articles, you know, written online and in print about kind of what it was and what was behind it. So I think generally everybody took it really well, especially in the early kind of stages in the early days. When we did our second, we thought we wanted to kind of launch again at one studio and create excitement. So we decided to put them out again, you know, a second time, like 3 years into having already been open. That didn't quite go over as well. Those did get, I think the bikes got quarantined by some city agency and we did get fined. $500 or $1,000. And I had fantasies of paying the fine with a giant bag of pennies. But I was told that would be a bad idea. So anyway, yeah, so it just kind of became this fun thing that most people, I think most people are bored, I think, on their normal commute daily, and to see something kind of different and fun, as long as it's not garbage or, I mean, these were pretty crappy bikes, but they were, painted bright orange. And so I think people have fun with stuff like that. And I don't think it has to be fitness. I was considering, a pet concept recently, and was just thinking about how you could do that, in a different way. And I was thinking, like, I know Brian, I think with like the AKT, they might already do this, but you could do like flash mobs of dancers, that just would happen in the middle of a city. So it's really just kind of trying to be creative with your product, and how do I do something to kind of throw people out of their normal day a little bit, because everybody's used to, like Trey mentioned, I mean, there's thousands of messages coming at people from every direction. So if you don't do something a little different, if you're just doing Facebook ads, then you're not gonna, you're not really stepping out from what all your competitors and thousands of other advertisers are doing on a daily basis. And so I thought it was just super smart. And then you were saying the second question was like, when did we kind of how did it come back around?
Yeah, like, I mean, I think that's so cool and exciting, and I love hearing you talk about it. But if I'm more of a numbers person and I'm not a creative brand person, how were you guys able to show ROI pre-media that this should work? And like,
we weren't really concerned from a numbers standpoint, honestly. I mean, we were a brand that no one knew about. So our priority was, we just have to get our name out, and we have to do it in some kind of big splashy way. And so I think with guerrilla marketing, I mean, you can't always worry about ROI. I think because you're, like Trey was saying, top of mind is tough to quantify. Sometimes, I mean, you kind of notice when your walk-in traffic increases, like he was saying. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it wasn't initially kind of an ROI or a numbers discussion. It was we were just scared that no one was going to know who we were, and had the fear of God in us that we needed to make that happen. So
good. Anybody else?
I have something to add, Jared. This is old Cutco days when they'd flyer and stuff, but it's a lot what Chris had to say. They had a saying in the Northeast called "freeze the ground." And what that means is, when the first snow falls, it doesn't stick, but it freezes the ground. It allows the rest of the snow to stick. And that's what a lot of that guerrilla marketing is getting it out. And, the bikes might not have been the thing that made them call, but it was that thing they found out about Orange Theory. And then it was that card they saw the next time. One warning about the bikes I would do is Google for your city if there's anything about bikes. Seattle's a big biking community. And what they do is they put a white bicycle if somebody passes while they're riding their bike. Yeah, and it was very insulting in the Seattle one, so that we weren't the first one. And luckily we didn't have to go through it, but somebody collected all the orange bikes and chained them to the Orange Theory front doors with a padlock. But that was a very Seattle specific thing. And so most of the rest of the country went great. One of the things that we did was if you go on Facebook and look at your city community group. So I'm in Bothell. Most of you probably never heard of City Bothell, but the Bothell community group, when we opened in 2015, had 7,000 people in it. Now it has 30,000 people in it. So what we used to do is when we were in pre-sales, we'd have the Orange Man, right? So your mascot. And we would say, hey, find the Orange Man this week. He's going to be buying coffees at this location sometime this day. And what would happen is that would help gather groups of people, where then our people would be somebody in the orange suit. They'd draw straws, short straw, wore the orange suit, and then one other person with them. And that's where they'd pass out the free workout cards or do that. But it helped us kind of gather people all in one place. And it allowed us to use the community group for advertising, because they don't normally let you use them for advertising. But because we were giving away free coffees, we kind of bypassed that.
Yeah, that's great.
So that was my 2 cents.
Yeah, I forgot about the orange suit. I mean, that was like super corny. But again, it's like, you just can't worry about it. I've worn the orange man suit out on a highway, with a sign before, and you can't be above anything, and your staff will have fun with you doing it too, if you participate with them. So yeah, you can't be above anything.
So many memories, Trey. So many memories.
Yeah, I was like, man, I wonder if I could find that picture of me standing on top of the Liberty Tax Hummer in the outfit, waving on the side of the road at passerbys. But
Please find it.
One of your questions, Jared, is about other franchisees, and I mean, most of guerrilla marketing is going to be out of most people's comfort zone.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest, it's out of mine too. And I had to force myself to do the things I didn't want to do. And, as an area developer with Liberty, I mean, I spent almost a month and a half, probably every year, literally going from office to office, dragging the franchisee out of their office. And I would buy 50 dozen donuts, and I would take them to the 50 closest businesses, and I would introduce them to the business. And I'm in full costume, and they're walking behind me like, oh my God. But it was a very positive experience. Like, they're like, wow, they met all these people. They would get customers, and I would take them out, and I would take them back, and I'd say, you need to do this every day. And I said, what happened today is great, but whether this worked or not, it depends on whether you're going to go and buy those donuts tomorrow morning and go and do it. And most of them will not. I mean, it probably 25% of them you would get through to, and they would go and do it, but it's always going to come down to you're going to find out who's in the top 10% really quick.
Brian Davis talked about franchise ramp once. I'm pretty sure that PTSD from Liberty Tax, with him being an introvert, was the reasoning that he launched Franchise Ramp, because he's like, never again am I going to do what Trey just described. I think he played that once. And I was cracking up now hearing you say, I'm like, wow, he probably paid for therapy and then got it paid for by Franchise Ramp after he launched it due to that experience.
That's awesome. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Franchise Secrets Podcast. Whether you're watching or listening, please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel and to whatever channel you're listening on. If you want my help with anything from buying a franchise to franchising your business, please visit franchisesecrets.com.